Thank you for viewing our presentation. I'm in a group that consists of Ethan Chen, Tino Caer, and myself, Arvin Mohanty. We go to the University of Illinois and the University of Michigan, and one of the things we realized is that after a COVID world, people are going to start traveling to meet customers, to look for new opportunities, and to facilitate this with a lot of platforms like Cisco webex, there needs to be some kind of tool, such as a chatbot, where every member in a space, for example, can keep track of the flight schedules and the travel schedules of fellow members. So we decided to create a chatbot that everyone can interact with inside of a space where people could plot their flight IDs and track when people are, flying from SFO to New York, for example. So when people need to schedule meetings and they need to communicate with each other, they can understand one another's flight schedule. I think this is much easier to demonstrate if I actually run the code. And so here in this WebEx space with this flight scheduler bot, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Flight scheduler schedule. Let's make sure we're actually calling the chatbot. Yep, just like that. Oh, there we go. It'll get back to me. Submit a new flight here. And I'm going to enter in, my credentials. So we developed, well, we didn't develop this. We actually used a little bit of some boilerplate JavaScript code to have this time picker. And January 8th, 9:30 a.m. And from here, I'll also need to put in my flight ID. Flight IDs are pretty standard. All the big airliners, they give you flight IDs, so you can just check your flight, see if any changes are there, and we add it to the schedule. So Ethan and I populated this UI to kind of showcase a bunch of flights with different airports. And as you can see on the 8th, I'm flying to my next destination. There are obviously, a few bugs with this, but for the most part, we are able to use a live flight tracking API that can give WebEx space members an accurate representation of when, they can meet. For example, on the 5th, our third group mate, Tino, it might be hard for him to contact us on that particular date just because we're traveling. And through using a platform like this that's accessible through a chatbot in a WebEx space, people can truly know when they're traveling, and that can help avoid time conflicts that are going to happen more and more as the world recovers from COVID. So a high-level overview of what's going on here in the code would be we have this file webex.js. We should have titled this better, admittedly, but we just got this to work, and this is a live tracking API, Open Sky Network, that allows us to track, aircrafts that are in the sky that we can use to update, departures and arrivals and departure airports and arrival airports to make sure that, if a flight gets delayed by a day, this is reflected in the UI that's accessible to WebEx users. Because that stuff happens a lot, and it's really hard to quantify that in something like a Google Calendar per se. And it's very valuable information, especially in the business and colleague world. And then we're using some web frameworks. We use a lot of JavaScript code that's pre-made. We use a Toast UI to actually show the library. And that's basically what's going on here at a high level. And that is our entire project. Thank you for hearing us. And if you do have any questions about how this works, feel free to email Tino, Ethan, or me.